The United States having unanimously appointed me to supreme executive authority in this nation. So again, he wasn't elected, he was appointed minister plenipotentiary. Your Majesty's letter of August 17th, 1788, which by reason of the dissolution of the late government remained unanswered, has been delivered to me. I have also received the letters which your Imperial Majesty has been so kind as to write in favor of the United States to the Bashaws of Tunis and Tripoli, and I present to you the sincere acknowledgments and thanks of the United States for this important mark of your friendship for them. So he's talking about the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1786, 1787, which was to end, us seizing their ships, holding their people for ransom, selling them into bondage, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So our Sultan, was like, stop doing this. Mm-hmm. Stop. This is for the greater good. Stop doing this stuff. Mm-hmm. Stop doing this stuff. And he was thanking them, like, thank you for doing that. Mm-hmm. Right? They're clearly in an inferior position. Clearly. Mm-hmm. We greatly regret the hostile dispositions of those regencies towards this nation, who have never injured them, as not to be removed on terms of our power to comply with. Within our territories there are no mines, whether of gold or silver, and this young nation, just recovering from the waste and dissolution of a long war, have not as yet had time to acquire riches by agriculture and commerce. But our soil is bountiful and our people industrious, and we have reason to flatter ourselves that we shall gradually become useful to our friends. You don't hear any so-called Indian treaty sounding like this.
No.
The encouragement which your Majesty has been pleased generously to give to our commerce with your dominions, right? The encouragement which your Majesty has been pleased generously to give to our commerce with your dominions. Now, what does commerce mean? Business and trade? Mm-hmm. What is dominions? Land and sovereignty. So thank you for allowing us to conduct business on your lands. Mm-hmm. That's where the Star-Spangled Banner comes from. To represent the peace and friendship, the amity and commerce between the Moors, us, mm-hmm. and the various European nations conducting business on our land, because we were at war with other Christian powers. Mm-hmm. So to distinguish them from them, Star-Spangled Banner.
Wow. I wasn't taught that in history class.
You also weren't taught that he wasn't the first president. You were taught he was the first. Because remember, they put themselves in this subconscious position of superiority when they're obviously not. Mm-hmm. You see? Now, the punctuality with which you have caused the treaty with us to be observed, and the just and generous measures taken in the case of Captain Proctor, because he was, kidnapped, make a deep impression on the United States and confirm their respect for and attachment to your Imperial Majesty. This is why when you see pictures of Noble Drew Ali with the American flag, mm-hmm. the American flag, and the Star-Spangled Banner, he has both. Mm-hmm. He's like, I know what's up. He's a competent heir. He has both. He's like, I know what's up. And then he has our flag on the left, which means we're the host nation or dominant, mm-hmm. and he has the Star-Spangled Banner on the right, which means they're secondary. So he said, I'm a prophet and a general. I was in the military. You can ask anyone about, flag custom and stuff. If you're higher on the flagpole or left in order, mm-hmm. that means you're dominant, superior host nation.
And they don't teach us that in history class. Of
course not. Now, in my book, let me just show the people real quick. Because Drew Ali was the man. He was a real prophet for real. And then George Washington, just his letter supports everything Drew Ali said and did. So here's Drew Ali with the Moorish American flag on the left, Star-Spangled Banner, and then it's inverted. So when the flag's inverted, that means the nation's under duress, because we're under colonial occupation. That's what that means. And then he's holding it again in his left. Competent heir, he knows what's up. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? See? So that Star-Spangled Banner represents the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, which supersedes the Constitution. So it came before the Constitution, 1786, 1787, Treaty of Peace and Friendship. And then even in the Constitution, it says all treaties and contracts entered and engaged to before the adoption of the Constitution shall be the supreme law of the land. So Treaty of Peace and Friendship is the supreme law of the land. Mm-hmm. But we don't know any of that.
No.
All right, so to continue. Respect for and attachment to your Imperial Majesty, the United States, Union States, these Europeans on our land are obligated to us because they're an appendage of our empire. We granted them permission to be here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that's saying. When you say I'm a war, this is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying you know all of this. Well, you should, because this is your land. You should know your history, you know your law.
Yeah.
That's also why Drew Ali said study, study, study. And if you ask me what to study next, study yourselves. All right, so let's continue. It gives me great pleasure to have the opportunity of assuring your majesty that while I remain at the head of this nation, I shall not cease to promote every measure that may conduce to the friendship and harmony which so happily subsists between your empire and them. Now, empire is a collective of kingdoms, nations, countries. So it's vast. It's not a little fort or a little thing over here. Because they try to say Moorish pirates like they didn't belong to an empire.
Mm-hmm.
You see? Because we controlled Egypt, west. You see? The high seas as well. Right. Excuse me. Boom, 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 boom. And shall esteem myself happy in every occasion of convincing your majesty of the high sense which, in common with the whole nation, I entertain the magnanimity, wisdom, and benevolence of your of your majesty. May the mighty bless your imperial majesty, our great and magnanimous friend, with his constant guidance and protection. Signed, George Washington. You don't hear any treaty between any so-called state and any so-called Indian that sounds anything like this.
Mm-hmm. Those between the Indians, it sounds more like I'm telling you what to do.
Now I have an example in my book as well, right? Now that's not a treaty, that's just a letter.
Mm-hmm.
But if you read the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, it doesn't grant them anything over us, and it doesn't give us anything over them. It establishes that if a Moor or European injures one another, that's diversity of citizenship, right? If a crime is committed, then the venue is consular courts. And that's Article 3 of the Constitution. That's diversity of citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, it lays out, no one has absolute power over anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's read the Indian Treaty. Let's just, read it real quick, right? As an example. And then keep in mind, these Indians say they have treaties with the state, but the Constitution says no state can enter into any treaty.
Mm-hmm.
That's a federal jurisdiction. So what are you saying?
Mm-hmm.
You're not making any sense.
Yeah.
See? So you can't fool those who read and those who know law. I also have the example of the IRS not being government in this book as well, so people have a reference. Hold on, while I try to find it.
And this is why people acknowledge what happened to the Indians, but they're still not getting any.
They're not getting shit.
Yeah.
Because they keep agreeing to be subject to the United States Corporation Company and not exercising their national sovereignty, which only exists when you recognize your Moorish bloodline.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because they don't teach you any of this.
In school?
I don't know anything about these treaties.
Oh yeah, no.
From high school, middle school.
No. Now remember, when you say that, you have to keep in mind 1902 General Education Board. They were never going to.
Yep.
All right. So here's an example of the treaty with the Blackfeet, 1865. Right. Let's just read Article 1. The Blackfeet and Dakota Indians, represented in council, hereby acknowledge themselves to be subject to the exclusive jurisdiction and authority of the United States. Do I need to read any more?
No. Why are you subject?
And why are you agreeing to it?
Mm-hmm.
In the book, in the Bible, selling of the birthright, that's you're agreeing to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, now, also keep this in mind. Every single person who's claiming the title of chief, sagamore, sheik, shacham, reverend, rabbi, governor, bey, grand sheik, they know this.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you Indians,
why aren't you sharing this information with your people?
again, you black leaders,
Not sharing information.
again, you so-called Moors bearing the title El and Bey, why aren't you sharing this information? Because they want that. And they want to sell you what's already yours. And then we believe it because we don't know, because we're not given the tools to measure them. But Drew Ali commanded that every single temple is supposed to teach this stuff. Why aren't they doing it? he brought this 102 years ago, but we're still in, you know, not all of us, but some, we're still fighting colonial occupation.
Mhm.
Why? Because our people are not active. He said, I want active Moors, not passive Moors. But again, when you recognize your bloodline, you have to be active because you see.
Mhm. And active not meaning you gotta go out and fight somebody, but just educating, getting together, talking like we're doing now.
Exactly.
You don't need a temple. You'll get to that eventually, but it's okay to meet at each other's
The goal
house.
is, you know, because the temple is just like, they're regencies. They're given, you know, they're granted vicarious powers to help deal with this, to help, you know, this is how you convert, or you know, how you quitclaim your, you know, you create your allodial title to your estate. So now these European colonizer foreclosure companies can't encroach upon your hereditaments.
But until then, we
share.
Here we are.
Yeah.
On Saturdays, meet in place,
Yep.
and talking.
Yep.
And
then
sharing knowledge.
even in the Quran, it talks about consistency. You know, we have to maintain this consistency to show not only our people but the rest of the nations that the Moors are. We're not accepting this. You know, those of us who are willing, who learn, like, we're not accepting this. See what I'm saying? It's just our people don't know that they're Moors, and then, you know, they're proud. They have the Star Spangled Banner, like, yeah, I'm a proud American, and because they are Americans, but then they're holding up the Star Spangled Banner with the fringe around it, which means occupying Morocco, and then we keep donning that.
Yeah. Whoops, wrong flag.
That's why Drew Ali said, don't talk bad on the American flag. That's the American flag. And then, you know, interestingly enough, when we was in the car, he was talking about how, you know, we have copper in our bodies. Star Venus, the alchemical metal of Venus is copper.
Wow.
And then the 7th day of the week is named after Venus. Viernes, I believe it is. And then green is verde in Spanish, which is because when copper is exposed to oxygen, it turns green. Statue of Liberty. She represents Venus.
Wow.
Our star. With the 5 points: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The same points that Drew Ali told us to, you know, live by. And then, as I was telling you before, the Hiawatha Wampum Belt, you know, the 5 glyphs: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And the 5 titles of nobility. Our titles of nobility. Boom. And then Prophet Dekanawida, his name means like the flowing of 2 rivers. That's the Kundalini energy. And he talked about the Iroquois law of great peace, who fathered them into government, which is us, who fathered the Europeans into government. That's why we're talking about the dissolution of the late government. We allowed them to even establish the Continental Congress. And then they call us savages and you know, barbarians, because we're also the Berbers, Moors. It's like, once someone shows you and they're not like interested in robbing you, like, all right, thank you. Like, thank you for giving me, you know, that lion's claw grip, waking me up to a living perpendicular, which is really what the Egyptians talk about, raising people from the dead in the mind. Like, thank you for doing that. Let's get to work. But only men do that.
Yeah.
Well, and women. I don't only mean to just say. I only say men because we're more of the aggressive type.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason why I say that, because I know who my creator is, my mother, and I know she cannot create something greater than her. I know I'm not greater than my mother. That's why I read that, you know, when Mary and Elizabeth were being taught, they were to bring sons. They had to be great first. You see what I'm saying? So I know what's up. I know I got a belly button, and I know where I come from. You know, and in the questionnaire, it says, "Who made you?" And, you know, the answer is Allah. It was Allah, Father of the universe. Who created you? My mother. Who's my mother? The creator of my universe. Universe is mental. I was formed in her womb. That's what the crescent and the star is. Hold on, let me show you that real quick too. Because this is really, you know, this is also unraveling the Willie Lynch. There's no coincidence that there are no happenings. So, you know, it's kind of like, it's actually great that you were listening to that when we got in the car. So here it is. See the crescent and the star? The crescent and then the star. And then, you know, eastward in Eden.
Yeah.
And then the eastern star, the star's now in the east. That's Venus. and then the ground is fertile, and both of these are feminine energy, the moon and Venus.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll see Nation of Islam, they'll have the crescent and the star. And then various, what they call Muslim nation states over in Africa, they have the crescent and the star.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the on the Shriners, they have the crescent and the star subjugated, which means they're subjugating you. They put the sword over your head.
Yeah.
That's Willie Lynch. They're dawning Willie Lynch. Or daunting. No, dawning. Not daunting. Dawning it. They're just right in your face. And then there's even some of our women who wear this, and some of our men who wear this.
Yeah.
Because they don't know. And some of them do know, though. You see what I'm saying? And they still wear it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good book.
I was gonna ask you, because I found a picture.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can find it.
Oh, then, and also in Brother Abdullah's book, he talks about, you know, the various treaties between our empire and the various European powers. Yep, that's exactly what it is. That's the subjugation of you.
Mm-hmm.
They invert you, which is the crescent and the star, which is, you know, our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they invert it and they put a sword over it, and then that thing's head is a woman's face. Because they're suppressing you to suppress your womb, to suppress us.
Mm-hmm.
That's why in the Holy Quran it says we're going to teach the women, you know. Mary and Elizabeth had to be taught because they were promised the sons, the revealers of light.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when I say men, this is what men do, because we naturally reveal the light. But you create us to do that. See what I'm saying? So your mindset has to be good.
Yeah.
That's why Joel Lee, let me lift you up and take you out of the chaos of the world. Because you know, you see our women and our men, we're drowning in the cares of the world. We think, you know, and then we think having a nice car and having whatever is like it. Now this is what Joel Lee has to say about that. Who's our prophet, and we know he's a prophet. And we recognize him as a prophet, right? Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship by name and principles, you have no true wealth. Simple as that.
Yeah. And what's really the appeal of wealth? Is it the nice cars and property and all that, or is it the fact that wealthy people get to do what they want when they want to do it?
Because they're operating
and
off
they don't have
our
to answer to
birthright.
anybody.
Because they're using our birthright because we won't use it. That's Trading Places, that movie. If you haven't seen it, see it. They're operating off a power that's ours because we won't do it. It's cheating. This is my laptop. I abandon it. I leave. You administrate it. If I refuse to administrate it, if I say get off my laptop and then you get up and then I don't sit down and you start using it, then you go back and keep, because you know, life, government, it has to go. Like, I've been farming for, you know, a little over a year now, and like it teaches you so much. Like even if you look outside, you'll see like trees like lifting up concrete. Like life is going to keep going.
Yeah.
This is life. Our government is life. It has to keep going. So the Europeans, since Moors, you don't want to do shit, they're doing it for us. And essentially that's what it is. Now there's more corruption, there's more shit going on, but if you look at it like that, it's to me it's clearer to see that way. I know we're being suppressed. I know we're under occupation, but we still have to show Allah that we're still stepping up no matter what. Answer to your God, not some pale-skinned person who's looking sad on a cross, and then you worship him, and then even in the book it says don't create any graven images lest ye be corrupt, and then you worship a graven image. Hypocrite.
Yeah.
And then Book of Revelation said skin like burnished brass, hair like lamb's wool, and then they got a pale skin European, and then
you worship it.
Still.
And you're making arguments on a book that you haven't fully read.
And you defend it. That's the same thing with, you know, Moors holding up Star Spangled Banner thinking it's an American flag. And then the rest of the world sees that, and they say they're incompetent, clearly. Either they're incompetent or they're supporting it. And then, you know, the United States Corporation Company, the military arm for the Popes of Rome, they're going around killing everybody. So when we hold that all proud, happy, the rest of the world's like, Cubans are like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
That's why no one likes black people.
Yep.
That's why when you talk to Dominicans, the Dominican Republic, and you say we say they're black, they get all pissed like, no, the fuck we're not, because they're not, because black people sell their birthright.
Mm-hmm.
Nationals don't.
Yep. That's why a lot of people from the continent of Africa get upset when they get categorized as black.
Because
they're
they're
not black.
Because they're saying because when you call someone black, you're saying you sell your birthright and you help these European democracy orders. Demons, not all Europeans, but the ones who are doing demon shit. You're helping them because that's literally what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
When we joined their military, which I didn't know at the time, but I still joined, so that means I'm still guilty. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. We support that because we think it's something that is not, because we're taught something different. You see what I'm saying? So it's like we're not innocent, and I can sit here and tell you I'm not innocent. I got military tattoos. I didn't know. You see what I'm saying? Now I know. Now I'm standing up and I'm showing the people like you can be reborn. You see what I'm saying? Like you don't got to keep living in a fraud. When you know what's up, be better than you were yesterday. That's Islam. That's Islamism. Just be better than you were yesterday. Reborn in the mind. And then all the prophets always say, you'll do greater works than I've done. Because the point is to hand down the knowledge so that the next generation can, take it higher than what you brought it. But we don't want to do that. We want to be black.
Yeah.
Like, and get
That's a funny
jewelry
thing.
and gold teeth and live in an apartment. Like you got gold teeth, gold in your mouth, and you live in an apartment and you sleep on a couch and your house is dirty.
And what did you do for your children to uplift them? That's a funny thing because a lot of black, quote unquote, black Americans, they want to be better than their children, and there's a lot of jealousy.
Your own blood. That's why they don't like black people. You're willing to turn on your own blood. Like, why would I want to be in your community?
Or if you look at a lot of quote-unquote black people, they don't give up their luxuries for the betterment of their children. So all the nice sneakers you buy, all the whatever you're smoking and drinking, you gotta have a car with rims on it. Why didn't you take all those?
Chain.
Yeah. Why didn't you take all that energy that you spent getting those things on getting some land for your children?
Creating a trust. Now, how do you go about getting land?
Or some
A loaded title. No, I'm just saying, because these questions are gonna pop up.
Assets.
Exactly. That's why, as an example, I was gonna show you my trust. I put all my books, my assets. These are assets.
They are.
In my trust, in my family trust, and then, I put that my descendants have ownership of that. And then the book, the book that I wrote, any economic gain that I make over that, my children have rights to that too. But we're not taught trust law, so you can't really blame our people for everything. Just like we can't blame the European for everything, because some of our leaders don't know this and they don't teach it. See what I'm saying?
Now, when you say they have the rights, are you talking about allodial rights? So they don't have to pay any.
All right. Now, stare decisis, common law. A right that is free and open to all is not subject to a license or tax or fee. But you would have to be taught that. And they don't teach that in our schools. And some of our leaders are sellouts.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But the truth is there. And you can always find it. In the Bible it says, observe all things as I command of you, and lo, I am with you always. Look around and the truth is always there. An example of this in the Bible, it says, women come from the rib of a man. Now look around in nature, we come from you. Separate the wheat from the chaff. There you go. That simple. Now look, which Moors are trying to sell you something, and which Moors are telling you what it is. Telling you what it was, and what it is, and what the hopes are for the future. Now, caveat emptor, right? I love this. I love that the prophet did this. Love it. Right? He's a genius. Caveat emptor. It's beautiful. you know, and I'm not saying I'm perfect at all. I know I need to work on a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here's what, you know, this is what we're trying to align ourselves up to if we're not already there, right? You know, Prophet said, you know, Moors be like me. I don't smoke, I don't drink, you know, be like me.
Mm-hmm.
So caveat emptor. Moors are men, upright, independent, and fearless, who care for their loved ones and follow the Prophet to a destiny which is not uncertain nor unknown. When you follow these black leaders, you don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't.
No.
They are fortified by the impregnable doctrine built upon love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It is therefore folly at its greatest height for smelly culprits with their insidious plans to invade such a realm. Now, there's certain Indians who will say, oh, the Moors only came here in the 1500s and they enslaved Indians. Well, Indians, you know, person found in the United States, you can't be found in the United States, so what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like they have these, they're fools.
Mm-hmm.
They're spitting out this stuff, but it'll only work on someone who doesn't read, someone who doesn't know.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? He's a mastermind, right? They try and try, but their own bad planning brings down wrath upon their heads like the sword old Democulus had. Intrigue and scurrilous cunnings find a difficult path to travel within the ranks of Moors. This is so because the Moorish movement has been well planned by Prophet Drew Ali, whose latent powers are abundant, unknown, and may be called into action as a matter of defense at any moment. Prophet Drew Ali knows the people within his ranks who are interested. They are the vanguard of the movement as the Moorish hordes increase here in America. All of the Moors are active, not passive. A member's interest can only be in the direction in one direction, and having traveled over the road years before, the Prophet knows where every member is along the road. A few feet below is another road where schemes work, where traitors grin and culprits bask in the sun. They think they are on the same road with true Moors, but the Moors are high above on a pinnacle where they might view the destructionists as they fall for the last time in their bones bleach in the sultry midday sun. Hungry scavengers fly high, catch scent, devour and leave crying out, caveat emptor. Cast out the dead carcass. The Moors high above see these plotters, purveyors, the worst that exist, hurl themselves downward by their own works as the hawks wait. So caveat emptor means may the buyer beware, meaning this isn't a game.
Mm-hmm.
People have died for this. People will die for this. You see what I'm saying? Like,
mm-hmm.
This isn't something to play with. This isn't join this group, join this temple, then all your rights are magically happen, and then the European starts beating you up.
Mm-hmm.
No. The so-called racism is occupation, terrorism, and genocide. When you claim you're Moor, it doesn't just go away.
No.
They're still on our land. We still have to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
So
You can't just have something with no price.
yeah, exact. Everything has a price.
Mm.
But you know, you reap what you sow. What can you produce? What can you manifest? What can you bring into fruition?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got the belief, the faith, and the fruition. 3 degrees. The belief is, you know, like a journeyman. Like you begin the journey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, faith is the scholar you start reading. You know what I mean? You start digging and all that kind of stuff. And then fruition is you can manifest things. The fruition is the master, the adept. So you got the beginner, neophyte, scholar, and then adept. But people aren't taught that either.
No.
They're just taught keep hope alive and keep believing, keep the faith in the Lord and Moses and Muhammad and Drew Ali. They even use Drew Ali like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like they keep, like he's just a Moorish prophet. Like he's not a universal prophet. Like he didn't teach national principles
And when you
in
start
government.
reading his stuff, it contradicts everything he believes.
Exactly. See that, and that's the measure.
Mm-hmm.
You measure what these other Moors are talking about to the man who brought it to you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you know, if you alter his literature and you don't show certain parts,
Mm-hmm.
then how are you ever going to measure someone?
Yeah.
That's why the Moors who have this are obligated. You know, do what you want. You have a choice, but you're obligated to help uplift your people. Because if you don't, you go nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Noble Drew Ali wasn't like, oh well, I got all this information, and I'm gonna charge y'all millions of dollars for it, and you know, Right, so Drewry was saying, you know, you can get the knowledge at expense because knowledge is the power. And this is what, you know, Executive Order 11490, King Alfred Plan, their whole military operation, and how they're looking at things. This is how they view things. You see, like their modus operandi, right? So they say, all science is merely a means to an end. The means is knowledge. The end is control. Again, the Bible, my people perish for the day for lack of knowledge. And then Drewry said, you know, your principles is what makes you the man. You see what I'm saying? That your knowledge, like what do you do with that? Right here. And then, you know, we talk about our people selling themselves out, right? That was the plan, right? Watch this. This is their theoretical, Mr. Rothschild's energy discovery. Now keep in mind, Drewry said gold and silver and commerce is the wealth of the people. 1933, they took control of the commerce and the wealth and the money. That's this right here. What Mr. Rothschild had discovered was the basic principle of power, influence, and control over people as applied to economics. Now, we want economic gain, don't we? The principle is when you assume the appearance of power, color of law, conversion, people soon give it to you. They acquiesce. That's an oral contract. That's it. That's if you don't do anything, that's a contract. You chose not to react. You chose not to act. If you call them, if you say they own something, you point that you agree. Oral contract. Mr. Rothschild had discovered that currency or deposit loan accounts had the required appearance of power that could be used to induce people. Instead of real compensation, they would put up real collateral in exchange for a loan of promissory notes. Don't you sign a promissory note for this? So the real collateral is the land. You think you're going to get some type of benefit from your own estate when they're really converting it. Right? They will put up the real collateral in exchange for a loan of promissory notes, even though in the Federal Reserve note it says note right on it. You think, and then we get these mortgages and we charge our own people to live in a mortgage house to pay some European, like. All right. Mr. Rothschild found that he could issue more notes, Federal Reserve note, than he had backing for. The backing would be gold, because their whole mission was to steal our gold, which is the real money. Remember Drewry? So long as he had someone's stock of gold as a persuader to show his customers. So they had Germany's gold, now they're using Manchurian or Chinese gold to make it seem like they're legitimate so the world's economy doesn't collapse right now because no one's buying those T-bonds anymore.
And is that why Nixon took out the gold standard?
Yeah.
So we can just print away?
Yeah. 1933.
Okay.
To control our commerce and our energy. Because it's all about estate. So if they can put the debt on you with their debt note conversion, they control the estate because they control us because we're part of the estate, part and parcel. Drewry. But some temples would say part and partial, not parcel. I'm partially with you when parcel is you're attached. That's why your feet don't get off the ground. Mr. Rothschild loaned his promissory notes to individuals and to governments. These would create overconfidence, T-bonds, when he would make money scarce, tighten control of the system, and collect the collateral through the obligations of the contracts. So they're moving out.